Hey, this is Shoot First Questions Later, an informative and mildly entertaining photography podcast with a raw Aussie flavour. My name's Cameron, and here with me, sitting on the floor of his garage, is William Patino.
Hello. Indeed we are.
Yes, we've moved up in the world.
Yes.
We're recording in a different location today.
Studio upgrade.
Yeah, it's got studio lighting, that very bare bulb.
Very dim and making us look quite gaunt.
Gaunt.
And worse than usual.
No,
Lots of shadows.
Yeah, it's good. But we're gonna segue straight into it today and talk about what we've shot in this last week. So it's Shoot First, Questions Later. William, what have you spent your time shooting this week?
Big week, my man. I just returned from New Zealand 2 nights ago. I can't remember. It's a bit of a blur. Yeah, I just had 3 nights over there shooting for a client and mainly photographing dolphins and whales and Will shooting wildlife. No, a bit of everything, to be honest. Landscapes, of course, and but the highlight for me was swimming with dolphins at sunrise. The dusky dolphins. Went up to Kaikoura, north of Christchurch, where they had a huge 7.8 magnitude earthquake back in November, which has literally transformed the landscape there. Like, the seabed is raised up out of the ocean, in some areas 6 meters.
Oh,
yeah,
that's huge.
You can't fathom this. Like, think of like a known location we photograph, say Cathedral Rocks, for example. Imagine if where the rocks were that we shoot now, if waves breaking against it, no longer would there be waves there, but there'll be like land behind it.
Yeah, 6 meters. It's the spire at Cathedral isn't 6 meters. That's like 4 meters.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard to fathom. Yeah, lots hugely changed landscape because of that earthquake. But yeah, it's just amazing to see how the community's pulled together and trying to get through the hardships, because this town just is pretty much thrives on tourism, and the earthquake has done a lot of damage to the roads in and out, and even the marina where the boats dock. They woke up in the morning after the earthquake to find the boats sitting on land and not water. Like, it's hard to believe, but it was amazing, man. Like, swimming with dolphins is something. I wouldn't say it was a bucket list thing, but definitely was stoked to do it. And
you're not going to say no.
You're not going to say no to the dolphin swims. It was just so cool, seriously, especially at sunrise as well. Yeah, that just blew my mind. So photo-wise, it was a big challenge. I don't have a housing for my main camera, so I was using a camera that I don't use often, which kind of struggled in this scenario. But anyway, that's what I got up to. What about yourself? Can you top it?
No, I just want to. I'll say my thing, and then we'll keep talking about your thing, because your thing's awesome. Literally, nothing's jumping out at me except for the fact that I took like some cool low light photos, like portraits, and like that was fun. It was just outside by artificial light. I don't know, had a bit of fun, but I'm starting to get comfortable in what I've been doing, which is a bit of a worry, because I want to. I need to try harder. Basically, I'm going to try to do some different things.
You've been
now.
Hinting about coming out with me a few times.
I just need to get out of bed.
Hard to line it up. Yeah, that's it. You like to sleep.
Yeah. But you're talking about the dolphins and whatnot. So you got in the water. You had an underwater housing. What were some of the struggles you faced while you were underwater in that weather?
So obviously you need a fast shutter speed. So getting that fast shutter, it's limiting the light coming in. So obviously opening up the aperture, so real shallow depth of field, and pumping up the ISO a little bit. The difficulties really were just the dolphins move so quick. There were hundreds of these guys, and you would see them leaping and kind of flying towards you, but then by the time you looked underwater, they were just darting around so quick and spinning around you. They love to play. Like, these guys, I had a few occasions where I had my head under looking one directly in the eye, and it was just circling me round and round, and I was kind of spinning around with it. I ended up getting dizzy after a while, but they really are just kind of like, come on, let's go. They just want you to swim and play. So photography wise, man, it's like doesn't get much harder. You cannot frame anything. There's no time for that.
Yeah. Did you lock your shutter speed to certain?
Yeah, I think I kind of was sitting around 1200, 1250th of a second. So fast, but honestly, I think even that was not quite fast enough.
And it's dark underwater. What was the sky like? Was it a grey?
It's really amazing sunrise, like a fiery one, which is resulted from cloud cover. So I was a bit worried because we got nice colour, but then once the sun's up, it was blocked by this cloud. Fortunately, there was a few gaps there and it opened up. So there was a few scenarios where you had direct sunlight piercing the water and getting those light shards come through, which was amazing. But yeah, once again, like trying to frame up a dolphin in that and nail the autofocus, that shallow depth of field. If there was a few times where this camera wanted to lock onto the surface of the water, so I was holding down and shooting like 12 frames a second, but it was all of the surface of the water with a blurred out dolphin in the background. And yeah, really hard, man. Like I got enough photos for what I was required to do for my job. However, it was such a special moment that I'm just like, no, I need to go back. I just want to go buy housing right now for my main body and just do it justice because it's such an amazing scenario.
Yeah. So you mentioned the job you were in New Zealand for. What else did you get up to while you were over there?
Yeah, so the tourism guys, Christchurch and Canterbury Tourism, they're really good at in NZ, especially these guys. They like to hold little like Insta meets, and this was what they called an Insta retreat. Basically, just an invitation sent out to anyone really to come along and chill out, take photos. So I was obviously like a guest for the weekend, and there was also Rachel Stewart and Kyle Melinda, two Kiwi photographers. So it was us three there as guests, and we went to Hemner Springs, which is about 2 hours from Kaikoura, and the guys there basically had activities for the day, like going on jet boats and rafting and quad biking and all this stuff, man. And then there was like a Q&A with us guys. Everyone could just ask us questions, and if they wanted to, that was all free, those activities, and I believe anyway. And then if they wanted to pay to stay the night and then participate in a workshop the next day, they had that option as well. So then obviously some people did that. It was like $100 if you wanted to do the whole package, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I saw on your Snapchat two things actually. One was that the infamous Jeff Reed he joined you
Jeffy
for a little
boy.
bit there.
Yeah.
Local legend, I believe.
Yeah, just a real nature frother,
yeah,
environmentalist, really inspirational guy. Yeah, so it was good to catch up with Jeff. Everyone knows Jeff. He's always around. Whenever there's an event on, he'll just make an appearance somehow.
Yeah, what's his Instagram? Jeff Reed NZ, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jeff
While you check that, you also had some seals. I saw some seals in your snap.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even mention them because they're just so common there. In Kaikoura, they're just everywhere, man. They are all over the place. But,
is that the place with the waterfall that the seals at the bottom?
That got crushed in the waterfall. In the earthquake, yeah. Which is just... So, yeah, if anyone's familiar, the in Kaikoura was an area where the seals, the mothers would come up and they'd bring the cubs up into this... literally a waterfall, a river that would run down from a waterfall and go into the ocean. So the seals would go up there and let the cubs stay there for a while. And certain times a year, there was up to like 300 of baby seals just playing in this freshwater stream beneath a waterfall in the middle of the rainforest.
And there was a beach nearby.
Yeah, and then the beach, right at the end of the stream, like 200 meters down. So I went there a few years ago and just blew my mind. Like literally, just imagine doing a rainforest walk by a little cascade creek, and then suddenly baby seals start appearing, and then finally getting to the end where a waterfall is, and there's just hundreds of them jumping around and playing, and no fences. Like this is just pure nature at its finest. It was amazing, and unfortunately, the earthquake just completely obliterated that area. The waterfall's not there, and you can't even drive there now. The roads are all closed. I've heard that, of course, the seals, they found a way, so they've found another area to nest, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, that was an area that was so special, but because of this modern age we live in with social media and everything, it was starting to get very popular with tourists. And to the point where it was probably becoming a bit detrimental to the seals themselves. So it's almost like a blessing in disguise.
Nature can, it's interesting how like it does this thing that's obviously negatively affects so many things, but it also makes way for new amazing things.
Nature just finds a way, and even with the whales and the dolphins, like there's basically a big canyon that sits off the coast there, and that's why the whales and dolphins come so close to the land, because the water just drops off a kilometre all of a sudden, really deep, and they're a bit worried that the earthquake was going to really disturb the marine life there because of all the shifting. But fortunately everything's still hanging around and happy. And regarding Jeff Reed, it's just all one word, Jeff with a G, GEOFFREIDNZ, Jeff Reed NZ. Yeah, just a really top bloke, Jeff. He's real genuine and just absolutely passionate about New Zealand and nature in general. But shout out to Jeff.
What a legend. But how about we take a question now? Yeah. From someone who submitted a question in.
That's right. So we've got
100% forgotten what our question was this week.
Luckily, I'm the man with the plan. So Wade Fudge has asked a pretty decent question here. He says,
"Nice, Wade. Nice,
Wade. Fudge. I feel like fudge now." He says, "Should you learn with just what you have, or buy the expensive equipment straight up front?" And so he's kind of saying, just stick with what you got and learn along the way, or just bite the bullet and get the expensive gear, is essentially what he's kind of saying. Which is a very common thing that people ask, like, should I buy this gear straight away, or I'm only an amateur, I'll just buy amateur gear, things like that. So he's kind of saying where to invest the money, essentially.
Yeah. Straight away, go again to instagramfollowers.com, where you can buy all the followers that you need to become a good photographer.
Yeah, spot on.
That's our answer, and thanks for listening.
That's the end of tonight's episode.
Shoot first, Christmas. Well, I think when you first start a new hobby, you kind of like dip your feet in, I reckon. Well, most people sort of dip their toes in.
Especially photography, it's not cheap.
Yeah, so you start off with a cheaper camera, kind of suss it out, and I think that's how most people I know who have started.
That makes sense. Yeah, generally a kit lens setup.
Yeah, so a lot of people start off with cheaper gear, and the temptation that a lot of people then face when they start to get into it is, oh, look at all these options for gear. Maybe I'll take a better photo if I get this lens.
It's just overwhelming, and every photographer is going to face this.
Yeah.
I think, everyone's going to have that first cheap camera. That's guaranteed. But then it's that next step where you have decisions to make, and man, it's overwhelming because there's just so much information out there. I still remember this clear as day. Yeah. It makes me feel sick in the stomach just remembering looking at all the options and like, which direction do I go in? What do I need?
I remember finding out the bonuses of having a 50mm, like with a nifty 50 with 1.8 aperture or whatever. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, oh, people take portraits with 50mm at f1.8. I need one. And that was just all I cared about. And I was like, none of my photos were good enough until I got this 50mm.
I remember doing a similar thing, like, I can't take a good landscape shot unless I buy a wider angle lens.
And it makes so much sense at the time, but like we look back on it and think,
the power of hindsight.
Naive, but
but
what do you think? Like, say someone's just invested in their kit lens with a DSLR, and they're going, all right, I'm seeing all these amazing photos, and mine don't look like that. How do I sort of reach that stage? Because it looks like they've got better gear, so I'm going to go get better gear. What would you say to someone?
I think the first thing to quickly address here is, does gear matter? Full stop. Which is a huge thing. I get a lot of people kind of saying sometimes like, I don't have very good gear, and kind of using that as an excuse not to get good photos, or thinking that, when I get the better gear, I'll get better photos. So first of all, just to clarify that, an analogy I use is that photography, I liken it to cars. a car will get you from A to B. Most cars, talking about running cars here, basically. They're all going to get you from A to B. However, some might get you there with a little more comfort or maybe a little bit faster. You know, some have cruise control or seat heaters, power steering, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, we can all get from A to B. And that's how I feel with photography. Sure, some cameras may have all the bells and whistles, but ultimately I feel like you can generally get the same result regardless of gear. I know it's a pretty big statement to say, but I just feel like if you give a 5-year-old camera to a good photographer, they're going to get a good shot still.
Yeah.
So it's not all about the gear. So now that's out of the way. In regards to the question, so yeah, someone's kind of got the kit lens, got the kit body set up, and they're ready now to go that next step. I think the big thing to firstly consider is the whole crop sensor versus full frame, which actually annoys me, to be honest, now, because, and once again, I have a lot of people in this exact position we're talking about. The problem is with the crop sensor, and I'm assuming hopefully all the listeners know what we're talking about here, too much to go into now, cropped and full frame sensors, but I don't like that there's a whole different lens lineup for both, just because of the way the engineering behind it. And the problem is, if you have a cropped body and you start investing in the crop lenses, sooner or later you're probably going to want to upgrade body that will more or less generally probably be a full frame, and then you're stuck because none of your lenses are going to be compatible.
Yeah.
So I always kind of say, first of all, before you invest in more lenses for your first body, if it's a cropped, maybe it's time to consider going straight to full frame straight off the bat.
Yeah. Or if you are at that stage, I know that on Canon you can put full frame lenses on a cropped body.
Down.
And
and
I can't remember on Nikon.
And there's just a crop factor, so instead of being 16mm, it might be 21 or something like that.
But at least you
can still use it.
And at least you've got those lenses for when you're ready to go up to full frame.
But let's also clarify that you don't, to be a pro, you don't need a full frame camera. It can go, but it's a personal opinion thing. But most often than not, the full frame cameras are going to maybe deliver. I've got to tread carefully here, but almost a better image. I feel it's just a bigger sensor. So
yeah, I mean we can't really dive into it. I suppose
it's just going down the wrong track. But so I'll just firstly say, all right, review. You need to exhaust what you already have, and that's what I did when I was learning. I just reached a point where I was like, hang on, I'm doing the best I can here with this camera, and the photo is just still not holding up to the standard I want to achieve. For example, night photography. My first body, when I put the ISO really high to shoot stars, the noise levels were just ridiculous. And that's because it was a crop sensor. It was a pretty cheap body, and it was quite old at the time. So that's where I thought, well, hang on, I like to do a lot of low light work, not just night photography, but even just really dark scenes, low light in the morning. This body's kind of struggling here. Yeah. So that's an example of where you're exhausting what you have already.
If there's one thing to take away from the question we're answering is that push your gear to its limits before you consider upgrading, because it prolongs the expense, but also you'll get better. You'll know what you want before you start throwing money at something.
Exactly.
Like if you exhaust everything that you have, like you know what direction to head.
Yeah, exactly. You know what you want to get out of your next body. You might not want a fast frame rate, but you want good low light capabilities.
And if you're pushing the gear to its limits, it means you're coming up with creative ways to get around an obstacle, and the obstacle being maybe a camera that does have poor low light capabilities or whatever. But you're going to be learning all the time. Whereas if you get a really good camera that takes great photos in auto mode, then you're not learning how to use it.
Overcome adversities. And it doesn't matter what camera you have, you're going to come up with problems. Yeah. No matter what. So I remember my old camera just trying to shoot a sunrise inside of a cave. The dynamic range was just so insane. The camera could not handle it in one exposure. I think I needed 3 exposures to get it. So I had to, first of all, realise that. I didn't even know how to overcome the problem. So I realised, hang on, I need multiple exposures here to get the dynamic range. And then I had to learn how to blend all three realistically in Photoshop. Whereas the camera I have now, one of the cameras, can more or less get this same scene in one single photo. So, but fortunately I learned with my older camera how to overcome such problems, because even today on my new gear, I still do come up with scenarios just like that. So I'm glad that for that example right there, it's taught me along the way how to overcome problem. It's like that age-old thing how people kind of say, oh, young people have it easier these days. I had to learn hard way. It does hold a little bit of weight, that type of stuff.
Yep. If this was me, I suppose my advice would be, like what I would do is, instead of buying more gear per se, I would put a bit of that money elsewhere. Like I would buy like magazines, or I would like photography-based magazines. Maybe not a photography magazine, but I'd see a magazine that I like the photos in. I'd study the photos. I'd invest money into tuition in some way. Yeah, there's so many.
Don't just blame the gear, basically.
If your aim is to improve your photography and get better at photography, it's not in your gear. It's
like a musician just buying a new guitar
and
to play better.
Yeah. And they only play once a week. It's not gonna work. But yeah, can you think of an example in your experience of learning where, I don't know, you made an investment that wasn't into gear, but it helped you learn and get better?
Investment-wise?
Or maybe not even monetary.
I've actually got one that just came to mind. I really, for a second there, I was like, no, I have none. But because I'm 100% self-taught, and I honestly didn't really spend money on tuition or, obviously magazines, things like that. But for me, it was actually traveling.
Yeah.
Just investing into travel, because as a landscape photographer, you're giving yourself a whole new palette to work with. I remember going to Canada and the States probably about 12 months after I really got into photography. So I've been shooting for a year, and just getting over there and being able to shoot such variety, such bigger, grander scenes that what I have here in Wollongong on the south coast of Australia, totally different. And that, in my opinion, really helped my skills big time.
And you might only be at a location once. You have one shot, so you have to work with it. And that is a really good lesson that you've learned, because that's your job now. You go to a place, you might be going there once. You have to do your absolute best. So
and the job I just done was a perfect example of that. Like, we admittedly got pretty average weather on this New Zealand trip. We only had probably an 8-hour window of light. Fortunately, it was the day I was with the Dolphins, and I really just had to make it count and work with what we had. So if you're a nature photographer, a landscape photographer, that's a huge one. Don't go think, okay, I'll buy all the gear first before I travel. I understand that. Like, you don't want to go to Iceland with really bad gear and then get home and your quality of your work's not what you'd expected. But even just localized travel or things a little bit closer to home just gives you, it can broaden your horizons a little bit and present you with new opportunities that will definitely help you grow as a photographer without having to rely on the gear so much.
Absolutely. Well,
but tricky one. Yeah, a little bit tricky, but I think what we're both saying is gear is not everything, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Wade. Wade's Instagram is...
Okay, while you look, I just thought of another thing. Something that I saw you and me both do. Well, we invested in other photographers' photos. So when you're actually buying another photographer's photos, and it could be over, it could be a couple $100. It's not the same as flicking through Instagram and looking at everyone's photos. It's like, I'm going to print someone else's photo that means something to me and have it in my house where I look at it every day. That's going to impact you. That's going to impact how you go forward and photograph. And anyway, I just thought of that because your house is got a fair few photos in it, a lot of some of them other people's that are really nice, and that no doubt would have had an effect on you learning.
Yeah, and it's right there every day, like a reminder. And Yeah, that's a good point. So Wade Fudge, his Instagram, frontier.photo. At frontier.photo. So thanks for that, man. Good question.
Frontier Photo, Wade Fudge.
I just had nothing else to say to that. Yeah.
Now it's time for Make 'em and Break 'em. Wow, 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 wow. I just improved our segment.
I was just like,
segment music.
Cut the tape, dude. Make 'em and break 'em. So this is our segment where Cameron's coffee's just kicked in, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's, our segment where we kind of talk about a rule of photography, how it works, but then how to break it and reasons why.
And we say rule very loosely.
Extremely loosely, because there's not actually that many rules per se.
Well, any fun ones. There's lots of boring ones that we
Yeah.
are overlooking on purpose, but yeah, we're going to try to find fun ones.
Yeah. So
what's our rule?
The rule today, and I'm actually having a brief mind blank right now. No, so it's about shooting. Do you shoot? Well, what's the rule? How do we explain the rule?
It's
shooting what's going to work.
Yeah.
What's popular? Shooting for likes or growing your Instagram account, essentially.
Or the popular vote, or...
Yeah. So the rule is shoot what people want to see.
Yeah, that's it.
That's probably a good way to word it.
Yeah.
So what's the benefits of doing this, for example? What are we talking about? What do we mean by shooting what people want to see? I guess we're talking about if you're a wedding photographer and you know that there is a certain shot that 9 out of 10 brides want, do you do it even though you may not like it, perhaps? So you do it. You shoot it. It pays the bills. It's good.
Yeah.
Or are you a landscape guy and you're at a location that's been shot 1,000,000 times? And
you see that channel of water, you see that you've seen thousands of times on Instagram. Do you set up your tripod there and get that shot as well?
Because you know that it'll work. It'll get likes and, it might generate a bit of buzz on your social account.
And, I mean, there are benefits, I suppose. These photos are, like, lots of people like them, which means they're not bad. Like, they're cool. Like, they look cool. They grab your attention. They have an impact. And these are all good things to say about a photo.
Say if you're running a business, then that's a positive thing. You're getting extra likes. You might pick up a couple of followers because it's getting exposure, things like that.
Sometimes companies like that angle that of a photo that has a following.
Yeah, like a recognisable type shot. Yeah. So downside.
The downside.
Or it's not really a downside.
Yeah,
but about breaking the rule.
Let's break it. Let's talk about why we don't want to go to a location that heaps of people have been to and put our tripod in the same spot. And like, I know no one tries to put it in the same spot, but it's like, same subject or whatever, same water movement. Let's talk about why.
What about an example of a shot? How about this one? I think we've all seen our fair share of night photography shots with a person in the landscape with a head torch staring blankly up into the sky.
And I've done it. We've done it.
Yeah.
So just preface this, Will and I have done this as well.
Who knows, I'll probably do it in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's an example of what we're kind of referring to here, I guess you could say.
So the positive there is that we know it looks cool. There's a person in the shot for scale. The torch looks really cool.
And helps accentuate the night.
Yeah.
And it shows that it's nighttime.
Yeah, but the peril to doing this is, like, we see it so much, like, because you're scrolling through Instagram and these photos, they're always going into your head. People, I think, and yourself become sort of desensitized to maybe, like, because the photos are awesome, but when you see it so much, it becomes less awesome by default, even though it's still like a cool shot. And
it's almost just, I'm not surprised. I just expect it, and it doesn't. Yeah. It almost just doesn't jump out at me anymore. And this is a very subjective thing. Obviously, art and photography is subjective, but for me personally, I feel like when I see one of these type shots, I kind of go, "Oh yeah, they saw the open goals, and they just couldn't help but kick the ball in."
Yeah, It's
It's almost like an easy way out. I don't know. It's like I'm once again trying to. This is not to point fingers or anything.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I think one of the reasons this happens is the other thing is because we're seeing it a lot. It enters like your subconscious, and so you might go to a location, whether it be landscape, wedding, and you've got these images that you've seen heaps on Instagram in your head, like in your subconscious. So you might just head straight to that framing.
That's
so
what I'd call tunnel vision.
Yeah,
you'll go to a spot and you'll see the angle right there. You'll go, okay, there it is. There's the waterfall and the little cliff hanging out near the waterfall, and you'll go, oh, there's the shot to put the person on the edge for scale.
Yeah.
Maybe give them a red jacket, they'll pop out. And once you see it, and it's hard to switch off from that because it'll work. It'll look good. It'll give some scale. It'll look insane. And yeah, you get this tunnel vision that really switches you off from other creative possibilities. As photographers, it's about being creative and self-expression. And when we kind of get so caught up in
what others are doing,
like this pop style, it can kind of just wash away that whole creative side of photography and thinking for yourself.
And it limits your own
your growth.
Your own growth in the images you're creating, because if you figured out the formula on how to take a photo that is popular,
it's a formula,
then you've stopped growing because you're just sticking to one formula. You're not get out there and create your own formula. Even like it
That's
might mean
rewarding.
It might mean you suck for a little bit or whatever.
It doesn't get as well received, and this is why I believe we don't see it much, because people want to get likes on their photo. They want to be liked.
Yeah.
And I face this right now. Like some of my favourite photos from last year, they were semi-abstract, they were dark, they were moody, but they evoked emotion, and that's what I was going for. But I knew they wouldn't get as many likes as if I went for that easy option. Yeah. However, for me personally as a photographer, I want to do what fulfills me.
Yeah, and you grew from that.
Yeah, and I grow from it. And from a business perspective, is it smart? I don't really know. Like, I know if I wanted to grow my Instagram account, then that's not the right way to do it. But that's not what it's about.
But I think there's people that need to be not setting the trend, but there needs to be people breaking the trend, and you'll see other people start to do that as well, or whatever. And you've set the bar,
and then just keep searching.
Yeah, you kind of almost
don't settle, never settle.
Yeah. You kind of just need to stick to your guns, and like that's kind of what I'm trying to do this year, I suppose. Like that's one of the reasons I'm not putting photos on Instagram, is because like likes and stuff, as much as I wish they didn't, they do. They
subconsciously hinder.
It's like, oh yeah, I know. Okay, this one got low likes, so maybe I'll stay away from taking that photo again.
Yeah,
and like
sucks,
you don't
man.
want like as
and
much
then
as
before
I say,
you know it, everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
everyone's molded into a same photographer.
So like I'm not posting the photos to Instagram, and I'm going to spend an entire year trying to break a formula that I had in my head, that I've been taught, this formula that Instagram has taught me. So I'm going to try to break it, and it's not an easy thing, and it's worth it though.
It's because it's a numbers game. Yeah. If there was no numbers next to our names or under your photo, I think we'd be seeing a lot of different work out there.
Yeah, and just a quick intercession here. We are sponsored by Instagram for this episode.
Yeah, lots of Instagram talk. Unfortunately, Instagram is just the go-to place. I really wish it wasn't. I think there's better platforms to view work. Even just websites in general are the best place.
If you haven't heard of 500px,
500px,
check that out.
That's worth a geezer.
It's really good
Higher
for all
resolution
types
work.
of photos as well. Like it's got a pretty wide range of different genres and whatnot.
Yeah. What you said about, but even that, honestly, I've seen the Instagram trend hit there. It's just pop photography at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
You mentioned it earlier about people sticking to their guns type thing, and it just made me think about the types of photographers that I admire.
Gun photography.
I like guns. I like people that literally have sticky tape on guns. No, the type of photographers that I admire.
Wait, what? Sticky tape on your gun?
Let's not go there.
I don't know.
It's a long story. One time in the States.
Oh, okay.
No, but the type of guys that I look up to.
Stick to your guns.
You get it now.
Oh, mate.
That was...
Sorry.
Cut the tape.
No, here you go.
Yeah, the guys I look up to, I can count them on one hand, really, and they all somewhat refuse... I know they're not doing it on purpose. They're not. They don't do what's common or accepted or expected. Every time I see work from them, I'm just like, whoa, didn't really see that coming. And it's going against the grain, and it just stands out. It's so refreshing to see.
Yeah.
And I just admire it, man. Like, it gets me so inspired compared to, if I just saw someone who's just followed the recipe, hoped to get better light than the last guy who done the recipe as well, and off you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is another topic of conversation between you and I that we harp on in our spare time about, but it's because it's a challenge, I reckon. Like, it's not easy to be unique. With
me,
so many photographers, but
the stuff we both like is just so abstract, and you just know that would not go good. Like, other people wouldn't get it, basically.
Yeah,
but I think it's like we said earlier. Just who cares what other people really think?
Yeah. Agree.
And if you're trying to sell a product or promote your business, then unfortunately this is where it gets tricky, and you need to be smart about, okay, if I get too weird here and follow my real passions and desires, and I could disrupt my business. And that's where you need to review.
Maybe separate the two.
Yeah. Why are you in photography for the first place, essentially? And I guess like one thing I said to people on the weekend was, I feel like you really just need to shoot for yourself first and foremost. This is more aimed at, say, towards amateurs and, which is the majority of photographers, really. If you're making yourself happy and just pursuing what you want to do, even if it is following what we're calling the formula, then that's great. That's all that matters, really. As long as you're happy and enjoying it, then you can't really go wrong then. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't like your photo or your Instagram account doesn't grow or... whatever it is, as long as you're happy and you're looking at the back of the camera and stoked each time you're shooting and you feel like you're achieving what you want to achieve, that's the best place to be in. So then when you put it out there to the world, if it doesn't get as well received as you may have expected, then don't get caught up in it. You done what you wanted to do and you succeeded in that. And that's a winner at the end of the day, because eventually... these social media platforms that, they're not going to always be here. It's going to be something else is going to come along. Your followers here won't matter. So if you're just striving to keep feeding the masses over and over again, you can't keep up with that game. You'll never be able to keep up. And
it's not hard for someone else to come along who's doing the same thing as you, but slightly better or something.
Yeah. There will always be someone better.
But if you stay true to you and just do you and what your passion is, and you put your own self into it, because everyone's unique. No one's going to come along and try to do you and do you better than you. You know what I mean?
You. Nah, so true. So true, man. Definitely.
Yeah. But let's wrap it up there. That was
good and deep, and
that was a big
deep
one.
and meaningful. No, it's good. Well, I think it's one that needs to be said because, man, it's saturated out there at the moment. Just the internet in general, images are everywhere, and
don't let the saturation get you down either. Like, you gotta. There is a lot of people. There's a lot of photographers. An amount that we can't fathom, and probably I wouldn't like to know. But you just
take a step back. Kind of what you've done. Just step back from it all and go, hang on, what am I trying to get out of this?
Yeah.
What do I want to achieve here with this photography? Is it for me?
Yeah.
What do I enjoy about it? Let's do that. Maybe I don't want to do this anymore or do that. I want to do this style, and just go for it. Just have fun.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. That was episode 4. Done and dusted.
Nice.
Really stoked with you guys messaging in and leaving feedback all over the place.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
I think we say this every episode. But
it's
no, we are grateful. It's cool. It's cool
so
to
nice.
know that we can just take out this half an hour, and if it may encourage you guys or inspire someone or just give a slight bit of feedback or entertain you in some way, then
keep shooting and let us know how you're going. And if you want to ask your own question, you can contact us on shootfirstpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Instagram.
Yeah. At William_Patino.
And at what? I am
You don't even use it anymore, man. Just
yeah, A_mugs_game. And that's it. We'll catch up with you guys next week.
cool. Cheers, guys. Thanks.
Bye.